many people who've just finished walking their Camino have a dream. They want to own an albergue. So today we're talking to Susie, and guess what? She owns an albergue. And we're going to hear how the heck she fell into that and what it's like owning an albergue. Coming right up. So Susie, great to talk to you today. And how cool, you own an albergue. Whereabouts?
Nice to meet you, Rob. I own an albergue in Trabadello on the Camino Frances, and we're about 172 kilometres from Santiago.
Oh, what a great distance. That sounds like a great start point. So
Yeah.
it's not far from, oh, I'm going to really screw up the pronunciation, Villafranca del Bierzo.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
And I remember stopping in Trabadello for lunch. So how did all that happen? How did you end up owning an albergue? I presumed you walk a Camino first, did you?
I did. I walked my first Camino in May, June 2012, and hated every moment of it.
Really?
Every day for 26 days. I was leaving the Camino. I thought I'd just get to this village and I'll get the bus, or when everyone leaves tomorrow, I won't get up and I will leave after they've all gone. I had really bad blisters, is what my problem was. My feet were really bad. I had no knowledge about what to do. And in 2012, there wasn't forums, there wasn't Facebook pages, there wasn't much information. And instead of just going and buying a new pair of boots, I persisted with the boots I had. But suddenly I got to O Sobrero, and it was almost like I could touch Santiago, and the journey was coming to an end. And so though my feet had got me to where I was, it actually wasn't my feet that got me. It was the people. That's what kept me going day in, day out. And suddenly I didn't want the journey to end. So I continued on to Santiago, and then I walked to Musia and Finisterre and thought, okay, I've conquered it. Amazing. How anybody does this more than once is beyond me. I won't be one of those people. And then lo and behold, in September of 2012, I went back and I did it all again.
The same year?
Yeah.
What a glutton for punishment. So what month had you done the first one?
May, June.
May, June. Wow, your blisters have probably only just recovered.
Yeah, and I wore the same boots. And where I didn't get blisters the first time, I got them the second time. And that was fine. And I made it all the way back to Santiago again. And the addiction had begun. I then did return to Australia. And I was a florist for nearly 30 years. So that was my profession from when I was 15. That's all I'd ever done. I had a flower shop in Sydney and I loved it. I thought this would be the rest of my life. And by May of the following year, I was back walking the Norte, doing another Camino. And straight from that, I went on to the Francais. And I realised by then, maybe I could do this. I'd like to own an albergue, because everybody says that, don't they? We all walk and go, if I had an albergue, what I would do different. I was one of those.
Well, it's happened to me, and I think everyone has that thought. You know, when you're in the zone and you're just loving it, and you think, oh, I could live here. And in fact, I had a chat with Rebecca Scott, and I said I was thinking of it, and she put me right.
Yeah, it's very good at trying to divert you.
There's the dream, here's the reality. Yeah. So how did it all happen? So you had this dream of owning an albergue.
Yeah, so I just basically put my flower shop up for sale and didn't think too much. It's maybe the way I've lived my life. When I have a passion, so my flowers were my passion before. And I realized in fact, I was walking the Camino, I was trying to learn a trade. I was learning from all the albergues I went to, what I would do, what was good, what was bad, what did I want. And as this was growing, and it was growing, I just put my flower shop up for sale, and it sold really quickly, which I wasn't expecting it to do, but it did.
Well, it was obviously the right decision.
Yeah, the roller coaster ride had begun. So I sold and finished by the December of 2013. And in March 2014, I'd packed everything in storage, and I gave myself 2 years. So I sort of had a bit of a plan, that if I hadn't found anything in 2 years, that I would go back to Australia and reestablish myself. And so I came back to Europe. My parents live in London, so I was able to sort of base myself with them. And I walked from La Puy in France after that, and it was the same thing. What do they do in France that's different to Spain? What can I learn from these people? And it is a gîte is very different to an albergue, or how they do things in France. Then I walked the Portuguese from Lisbon, and the same thing. The Portuguese do it different, but each time I was just getting more and more knowledge. And then I was looking while I was walking. That's what I was doing. So though I was looking on the internet, really to find what you're looking for is, you need to walk, you need to feel. And that's how I needed to do it. So I did. I kept walking and looking and searching and coming back with, is this the right place? And I viewed a lot of things, including the odd wall, which they told me was a house, but it was just a wall. It's like, yeah, maybe this one won't work for me. I was doing it on my own. So it had to be something that I could live in and do what I wanted with it.
So people are going to be watching this thinking you're obviously very independent and, super confident and, oh, she must speak fluent Spanish. It's not necessarily the case, is it?
No.
It's following your passion.
I smile a lot. And I think somewhere in there, the smile and the openness maybe has helped me through. And it's been amazing the amount of people that have come into my life and have helped me with translation and building up friendships, and just the right people have been there at the right time to have helped me. I had a lovely real estate agent that was terrible at looking at properties. He didn't understand the Camino, so I often looked at properties, 2 or 3 kilometers away from the Camino. This is amazing. It's like, yeah, but no one's going to walk another 2 or 3 kilometers. As a pilgrim, I knew this.
Yeah,
And
you've got to be able to see it from the Camino.
they say 20 meters and you can't see it, you keep walking. I mean, we've all learned that lesson the hard way normally. But on month 20, I found this home, the home I have now. And it's amazing. It was everything and more that I wanted. So though it was basic, it was an old barn downstairs where the animals lived, and upstairs was the home, which is what a lot of places along the Camino originally were. I think because we're in villages, they only survive with animals and a big piece of land for their vegetables. So basic downstairs and a basic upstairs, but it did have electricity and it did have running water in the front section of the house upstairs. So it was a good start for me. And I could see that my vision of a small albergue was here, because I was doing it on my own. I wanted 12 beds. I'd been a hospitalero. So I had tried, I dipped my toes in the water, and I was a hospitalero a few times. Do I really want to do this? Because, of course, we love the Camino journey. We love being with everybody we meet and moving day to day. It's all wonderful, but being a stable part of the Camino is very different. And I didn't know if that was for me. I mean, would I want to leave every day with the pilgrims that were staying here? Well, that wouldn't work as an albergue owner. So I decided to be a hospitalero a few times and make sure it really was for me.
Wow, you really went into it in a lot of detail then, yeah. It's funny as you say that. I'm thinking of people who love hanging out in pubs. This is a very English thing, oh, I love going to the pub. I think I'll own a pub. Well, being on that side of the bar is very different to being on this side of the bar.
Very much so.
I bet, yeah. I mean, if I had an albergue, I'd want to pack up in the morning and head off with everybody.
That's it. And do you still have that same connection? Because people from my first Camino are still friends. They're my family. I would do anything for anybody that I've been on the Camino with, and that's just how we are. So, if I didn't have that connection with people, there would be no point in owning an albergue if I didn't have that same feeling. It wasn't going to ever be a job. It was my passion. And
so you're getting the connections, but they're just different ones every day, yeah?
Yeah. And it doesn't matter. I mean, we just need one person to have stayed overnight here. And I mean, we literally could travel all over the world with the people that have just stayed here. And lots of times when I've come back to Australia, I've spent kindness of pilgrims that stay with us. We have a house, a holiday house. Please feel free to use it when you're here. We live on Stradbroke Island, please come and visit us. I mean, amazing. Yeah, it's been incredible. Yeah.
So people watching this are going to want to know what's the downsides and what's the upsides. So you're making it sound like the dream, but what's been some of the downside? It can't have been that easy.
The downside, you know what? We've had over 5,000 pilgrims through our doors in 3 years. So I opened in 2017. So we had 3 seasons until 2020, which hasn't been a season for us. So 3 seasons, over 5,000 people. We've had over 70 nationalities, and it has absolutely been incredible. So my highlight would have been, I don't even think you asked my highlight, but I'm going to tell you. It was Pilgrim number 30. A lot of people that are watching this.
Are you watching Pilgrim number 30?
Well, Pilgrim number 30 now lives here. So
okay. Pilgrim number 30 lives there.
Pilgrim number 30 stayed, and he is half of Casa Susie. As he says, he's Casa and I'm Susie.
All right. So this must be Fermin.
This is Fermin, yes. So totally blessed with that. That was a big surprise. The worst thing of our day would be the last thing Fermin says at night to the pilgrims after we've had dinner, because we have a communal dinner and we sit with our pilgrims every night. You're in our home, so we share what we have with the pilgrims. He goes, "Don't forget your sticks." At 6 a.m, you can guarantee there'll be a buzzer ringing and someone's forgotten their sticks. That, you know what? That's pretty much the biggest downside of what we do. Yeah. We deal with, we've all heard about the bed bugs, chinches, and yes, they are along the Camino, and they're the whole way along the Camino in whatever you stay in, whether it's a 5-star or the most basic form of albergue. But we deal with those now. Now we understand them a bit more. We're here to help people with those. So that would be, that would be.
Do they occur at a particular time of year? I mean, I've never been bitten, but I've just, touch wood.
You're really lucky, Rob, because lots of people.
I'm always very careful. I check the seams of the beds, and I've never even seen one.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it stays that way for you. Anybody that's watching.
I'll come and stay with you. I promise not to bring any.
Anybody that has encountered them, it's a very unpleasant experience. But we do help anybody that comes here. In fact, I think we've got a bit of a reputation that even people that are not staying with us, if they come into the village, they'll come and ask us for help because we want to help people. It's just that not everywhere helps, and people are so fearful of it and they don't have that discussion about it. But it's life on the Camino. They're here. So that would probably be also one of the downsides of it. But in terms of anything else, and at the end of the season, we're extremely tired. It should be 7 days a week for the 6 or 7 months. But we've learned that if we're tired, we can't give each and every pilgrim what they deserve, and everyone deserves the same from us that we can give each day. And so if there's days where we're extremely tired, we do close. Okay. We won't. I mean, if we've got reservations, we'd never do it. But if there's a day where there's no reservations and we can see it's been particularly quiet along the Camino, we will take a day of rest. And then you give more the next time, when you do reopen. So
I had a quick look at your Facebook page. The building looks fantastic. So are you a private albergue, a donativo? What sort of albergue?
We come under the donativo. And that was basically, I did it that way because when I was a volunteer as a hospitalero, I helped in donativo albergues. And that's what I think the true spirit of the Camino is that we'll help the less fortunate, and the ones that are more fortunate will help the ones that are less fortunate.
Maybe for people watching who don't understand what a donativo albergue is, you could sort of give a thumbnail sketch of what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so I mean, once upon a time, before there were albergues, it was just people would open their homes to pilgrims, or their barn or their shed, and allow people to stay there. And whatever food they were growing or whatever they cooked that night, they would share with the pilgrims. And that's how people got to Santiago many, many years ago. I mean, it has changed a lot since then. And that's why the municipals started to open when people were sleeping in the streets. Fermin often tells the story at dinner how there was nowhere for people to stay. Yes, there was the hospitals, which are now mainly paradors, where pilgrims did stay, and it was set up with the Knights Templars. And I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So municipals began, and then the churches were open, and then private donativos and private albergues did open. So the donativos were, you leave what you can for whatever you have from there. So for your bed and your meal, they always involved feeding people. So it was whatever was left the day before would then feed the people the next day. It doesn't quite work that same way today. We did for a very long time have to keep subsidising, especially in the very beginning, we subsidised. But there's a different sort of pilgrim out there now. People are travelling, and maybe sometimes the donativos have been taken advantage of. Oh, it's a free night. No, it's not a free night. At the end of the day, this is our home, and we are the ones that will subsidise you. But we're on a very small.
That's an important thing for people to understand, and maybe a lot of people don't understand that.
Yes.
Donativo is donation, but if you can afford it, you should make a reasonable donation. So, I mean, I've heard of donativos just running out of donations, and they didn't have money to feed the pilgrims.
Yes,
and that's what happened to you.
Well, in our first season, obviously, I'd bought this house and I had paid for all the renovations, and there was a few disasters in those renovations, and it took a lot more money than I expected it to happen. And so I was, down to the minimum. And obviously then I was open. I was ready to open. And I'd given everything I possibly could to this. Maybe I didn't need to make the bathroom as special as I did. I have two very big, open, beautiful bathrooms. But it needed to be something I wanted when I arrived as a pilgrim. And I couldn't be any less than that. I wanted everything to be just right. And that was fine. It was just right. But when people were coming and not leaving donations, and they had the best mobile phone and good walking boots and good backpacks, and you could see that along the way they had been, or they were getting a taxi because they didn't walk to Osabrero, which is €30, and you don't leave anything in a donation box. That's it's a bit hard. It's a bad pill to swallow, really, at the end of the day. We just need enough to survive. And Fermin said, if as a donativo, we were allowed to ask for €5 as a donation. You can ask for a minimum donation. So we had to change the system where we were asking for a minimum donation. And we explained to people, at the end of the day, this is our home. Fermin has a wonderful greeting when everybody arrives. And we explain what we are and why we do what we do. And that we want to share this with the pilgrim. And some people have never been to a donativo until they get here. They go, it's incredible. It's like, not everything's going to be the same.
It might be my first.
You'd be very welcome.
Yeah, no, I would love to come and stay with you. I'm one of those terrible snorers, so I'm kind of embarrassed to stay in albergues. I'll stay, I'll tuck myself away in a private room in an albergue. I don't want to be beaten up at night.
Well, there's some albergues with snoring rooms, don't you?
Yeah, but then I'd never get to sleep with the snorers.
I admit they're a snorer. I've actually said I'm a snorer to go in a snoring room because there's barely anybody there who admits they're a snorer, unless everybody else in the line points, that's the snorer, which they might do at you, because we often have that. People will come and they go, oh, is this person here, this person from somewhere? And I'll go, no. And they go, oh, good, because we slept with him last night, and if he's staying here, we don't want to stay here. The Camino radio.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. I have promised myself and others that I will stay mainly in albergues on my next Camino, and I will try lots and lots of donativo albergues, because I know that I'm missing out on the spirit of the Camino and the hospitality. So I'll definitely.
Rob, the whole point of this is that you're not staying in amazing conditions. I mean, Yes, maybe the Albergue is amazing, but we're communal living. And that's just what it is. This is a really old home. We have no insulation. So if there's a snorer downstairs, our bedroom is above that. We'll hear them. And it tickles us to a point. And some nights you go, how is anybody sleeping downstairs with that snorer? We also use earplugs, but I mean, we have earplugs if people need them, and most people come with them. It's just part of the journey. That's all.
You two sound like saints.
No, it's
Well,
just
look,
how it's wonderful.
we could talk all night or all morning where you are, Susie, but I was waiting for all the horror stories, but you know, the dream is the dream.
I would be happy to share horror stories if we had them, but actually we don't.
That's amazing. Oh, look, thank you so much for talking to me today, Susie. I think people will be intrigued by the fact that you walk so many Caminos as well. I feel like a real newbie talking to you. I had a look at your wonderful albergue. We'll put some links down below the video so people can see that. And I really hope that next season can be a great season for you, because this has obviously been great fun. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Rob.